right. Um, so, when I first came across Kateesha's work, I was instantly drawn in, not just by what she teaches, but by how she shows up. She's based on the Gold Coast and is the founder of the Known Academy, where she's helped hundreds of business owners and professionals build bold, connected personal brands that open doors. I've had the chance to get to know Kateesha a little, and she is one of the most genuine, grounded, and generous people I've met in this space. She's smart, relatable, and truly walks the talk when it comes to connection. As someone who's passionate about branding and showing up in business with purpose, I knew I had to have her on the podcast. Kateesha, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Alicia, that was the most beautiful intro. You're gonna make me cry.
I know it's like everyone I do have on there, they're like, it's so hard sometimes to listen to it, and I usually don't like to let guests know because it is generally you're just
That was so
genuinely
sweet.
the most loveliest person like I've ever one of the most loveliest people I met, and I think that comes across in how you run your business too.
That's so kind. Thank you. That means a lot hearing that.
So, first, I just want to walk through your journey in business and what you do a little bit. So, can you take us back to the beginning and how did you get started in branding and coaching?
Oh goodness, back to the beginning, hey? How did we get started? Look, growing my personal brand is something that I started about 5.5 years ago when I first went out on my own and launched my first business. And I had 30 connections on LinkedIn and realized pretty quickly that I needed to grow an online presence and network in order to sign new clients for my business. And over the years, I just naturally picked up LinkedIn quite quickly, grew a small following. And then about 3.5 years ago, I had some people reach out to me to say, hey, could you help me do the same? And I thought, well, if you're willing to pay me, I'm happy to help out. Um, so I supported business owners with things like posting content, helping them generate leads, and I even had some clients where I was closing sales for them as well. So I got that full A to Z experience, I guess, from understanding how do we turn a stranger on LinkedIn who may not even be connected to you into a paying client. And for the first 12 months, I didn't even promote Beano, and I just had clients coming to me organically. But the moment I did promote Be Known, which was 2.5 years ago, something interesting happened. And I actually had people reach out to me and ask me to coach them on the process. And I thought, oh, that's interesting because I never envisioned myself to be a coach. But I started signing on clients and had really phenomenal results. And very, very quickly, things just grew. I stopped my done for you, I guess, service offering and went all in on the coaching. And I've been really fortunate over the last 2.5 years to have coached hundreds of people across 40 different industries.
That's an amazing story that it just organically went into it, and you're just when I think sometimes when it you organically go into it, you become more passionate about it.
You do. And I think it was also such a good lesson because I'd had previous businesses before and I found it really interesting feeling the difference in the businesses in terms of the other ones. I just felt like, and pardon the French, but I just felt like I was pushing shit uphill. I was like, why is this not working? Whereas Be Known has always been so natural. And don't get me wrong, there's obviously always challenges in business, but I really felt like I hit a market where there was a huge demand and need for it. And I don't know anybody really in the space in Australia who does what I do. So
I love that. So what was it that made you want to help others grow and build their confidence online?
I think more than anything because I saw how it changed my own life. And going like I've and you've obviously heard bits and pieces of my journey, but I had a pretty hard run in my early 20s and was not in a real great place, and I was able to completely transform my own life thanks to my personal brand. And then when I naturally started working with business owners or corporate people wanting to quit their toxic job to be in their business full time, that was so fulfilling. Like, although I'm in personal branding, what I'm ultimately doing is that I'm actually giving people more time back with their kids. That's how I look at personal branding now because I've been able to help people scale their businesses and that allows them the flexibility and the time to be able to spend time with their kids, and there's nothing more rewarding than that to me.
So what would you say your relationship with was like with being seen in those early days? Because obviously it was new to you that
Yeah.
um and when you first started it was about being seen. How how was your relationship with that first up?
I would say that at the time I probably was pretty shameless, and I still am. I'm still, as you know, like I'm very shameless. Because I had no option but to be shameless because I had no clients. So I think you just get to a place where you sit there and you literally have nothing to lose. Like I didn't have a business at the time. So, what's the worst that could happen? Like I'm already at this level, right? So I think it was me, I was shameless, but there still would have been times, and there's still times now where I'll put out content where I'll feel a little bit nervous to put something out. But I guess fortunately now I've got the reps and I've got the experience and the proof in front of my eyes to see what, the benefits of growing a brand. But early on, to be honest, I probably didn't know what the heck I was doing. I mean, I had 30 connections on LinkedIn. I was 21 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, but whatever I did at the time worked, and it blew up my brand, and I was able to sign clients. But it was just the wrong business for me. Like Beano was what I was meant to be doing.
That's it, it is I guess you're willing to learn though.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I mean. Like you gave it a go and you're willing to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If there's anything that I can give myself credit for is like I've personally invested multiple six figures into my own learning and development. So it's a non-negotiable for me. Like that is part of life for me.
What would you say is the biggest misconception that you've come across when it comes to personal branding?
That it's about you. Yeah. I think people get too in their head and, dare I say, selfish when it comes to personal branding, in the thought that people, constantly say to me, oh, like I don't want to look like a dickhead on LinkedIn, and, like I'm worried about this and yada, yada, yada. And all I hear is you. But the question I always say to people is, well, do you have something to offer that you think would be of value to others? And it's always yes. It's like, yeah, yeah, I'm a great financial planner, I'm a great mortgage broker, I'm a great leadership coach, whatever it is. Well, in my eyes, you're being incredibly selfish then not to grow your brand, because all brand is visibility and impact.
Yeah, and then I think we come across that with sales as well. Why people struggle.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. I struggle to sell. But it's like, are you actually selling something just to sell it?
Like,
Are you actually got something that can help people?
yeah, absolutely. Like, is it something you believe in? And I think the reason why I've been so shameless over the years, because I truly believe in what I'm doing, and I've seen the impact it's had on the lives of my clients. So, yes, I really do believe sometimes we need some tough love when it comes to personal branding, and people need to get out of their own way to help more people.
Do you think the problem comes that we generally think personal branding is for influencers rather than business owners and entrepreneurs?
Everyday people,
Yeah, and everyday people with
everyday
businesses.
people.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I would say most of my clients start with anywhere from 200 to 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. So I'm not working with clients that have got, 20, 30, 50,000 followers. They're everyday Australians that are really good at what they do, and they want to help more people. I think what people need to realize is you certainly do not, like, personal branding is absolutely not just for, influencers or very famous people. I've seen the ripple effect of what my clients have done with a very small following, I guess, in comparison to the big dogs. And yeah, the effect it's had on their clients and their families has been huge. So no, you don't need to think that it's only for, influencers.
Yeah, and I think if you it's how you approach personal branding. Are you trying to be famous or are you trying to build a community that you're going
Oh, absolutely. Because there's plenty of people as well that I know that have hundreds of thousands of followers, right? But it's a bunch of people that really couldn't give a shit about that
to?
person.
Doesn't always
And they're people
convert.
that, yeah, and they're people that are also not buying from them as well, because that's a huge difference. And it's funny, like I was looking at even my audience the other day, considering the size of my audience, I've had significant revenue come from what I consider a very small audience in comparison to a lot of other people in the space. But that to me is just a testament of the relationships that I have with my community, that I've been able to, in a way, I guess, like monetize it quite substantially.
Well, would you say that's where obviously LinkedIn is different, right, to when you how you approach Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, because you're not trying to get paid off views, you're actually trying to build an audience that is connected with you, that actually needs your services in some way and build a community. So you're not just trying to get views as such.
No, correct. Like views is not the be all and end all. It's about getting really clear around who you want to work with and then creating a content and branding strategy that's going to reach those people. I mean, I've got a client who started with me about 10 months ago with it was 200 followers, and they've now got about 2,700, 3,000 followers, and they've generated over $250,000 in business opportunities from a very like small brand. Yeah, it's interesting, but they've gone laser focused in their niche and in their zone.
Yeah, so that probably answers a little bit. My next question was about building a strong brand without being everywhere at once. You've built
Yes.
a strong brand and created revenue, but by being marketing the right way to the right people.
Yeah, correct. I guess if you're brand new to growing a personal brand, the first question I ask is, like, what is your goal with your personal brand? And then who is your ideal client? And then where is your ideal client hanging out? So my ideal client is obviously hanging out on LinkedIn. And it's not to say that I don't build an omnipresence, but what I would recommend is going all in on one platform that you know your ideal client is hanging out on. Once you nail the foundations on that platform, then build out an omnipresence. But don't overwhelm yourself trying to be on TikTok and X and LinkedIn and YouTube, like hone in on one, do that really well, then move on
Yeah,
from
be
there.
consistent. And
Yeah, yeah, and the
when you're consistent
consistency.
on one, you get to understand what actually is converting for your client or your potential client.
Absolutely. I've recently started to grow my brand on Instagram. I shouldn't say I'm mucking around, but I'm testing. So I'm putting different things out and seeing what's working. And Maya, the difference between LinkedIn and Instagram is huge. Like I'm a beginner again. Like I'm having to learn a whole nother platform. So that's been humbling.
And you got to create reels, and it's
Oh,
a
it's
lot of
so
work.
much more time consuming. Like I don't think I realized I did know, but the last month has really made me appreciate how lucky I am I grew a successful brand on LinkedIn because it's so much easier on there.
Mm. So I'd say I think you're good at creating content that connects. What do you think is it is about your content that makes people stop scrolling and actually feel something?
That's a good question. So I would say it's a combination of things. So the first one being copywriting. So I'm a phenomenal copywriter. So if you can particularly nail your hook on a post, that's which is the first couple of lines of your post, uh, that will be one way that stops the scroll and gets people reading and feeling connected. The other is I'm a big storyteller. So I share a lot of stories, and I guess with the rise of AI and all the garbage that's coming out at the moment from it, it's not hard to win. It's really not hard to win. So when you actually just post in an authentic piece of content with a story, it's so different to everything else that people are more likely to read and connect and engage with it. And then I guess the other piece as well is, photos. Like adding photos to your content is also another way to capture people's attention. And it's interesting. I did a post around this last year that went viral, and again, like I'm shameless to admit this. So, like I know I'm no supermodel, but I also know like I'm a beautiful lady. So like that also, like to a level, like I lean into my femininity, my magnetism as a way to like leverage interest as well.
Yeah, see, and that I think leads into my next topic I wanted to talk about. It's about how do you guide clients into using their own voice? And I think that feeds into the AI thing. I think obviously AI is a tool that's great and we use it, but
Yes,
you've got to feed the story into it.
correct.
Create
Yeah,
the story in your voice and get it to refine what you say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say
And
that?
Yeah, and it's a funny one because I'm not against AI, and I can see how AI is really powerful to help people with like getting the structure of their copy right as well. But you're right, like you have to add your own stories, you have to add your own tone of voice in there. And I guess the biggest piece of advice I give to anyone who's using AI or creating content is read your content out loud because that will tell you straight away if it sounds like a robot or if it sounds like something you would say to a person standing right in front of you.
I swear sometimes when I use my AI and to create content, and the jarble that I put in there, if the AI could talk, it'd be like, "What crap are you feeding?"
What are you talking about?
It's just like this whole big brain dump of just craziness. But it is, and I think that's what
Put your
makes
thoughts together.
yeah. It puts my
Yeah,
I put my thoughts together in a big brain dump, and
yeah,
then
great.
that's where AI I think can help. It is definitely my voice because it's
Yes.
just such crazy thoughts that I put into it, and it still and I still need that to come out. So I think that's important. It's just a tool. It's not a creator.
Absolutely. And you can tell, right? Like you can tell when somebody's copy and pasted something straight out of Chat GPT. And for me, I find it so brand damaging because it tells me that you couldn't care less about your brand or your reputation and you're lazy. Like that's the other thing too, is I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, like you're obviously just being lazy. You're taking the easy route out, but to me it's doing more damage than good.
Um, what would you say to someone whose biggest concern is that they're going to get it wrong and not look professional
Yeah.
online? Because I think that's what
Yeah.
stops us all. We're like, oh well, we might say the wrong thing, or
So when it comes to, I guess, so I feel like there's two parts to that. So there's the professionalism part, and then there's the getting it wrong part. What I find with the professionalism part is often people use that simply as an excuse. And so what I mean by that is you can still show up professionally and be yourself. Like I'm not watering down my personality to fit into a nice little tidy box that's corporate and like fits the norm, right? When it comes to posting the wrong content or saying the wrong things, you have to come to terms with the fact that not everybody's going to like you, right? So somebody is always going to be annoyed, have an opinion on what you have to say. And so I ask myself simply three questions every time I post a piece of content to make sure that it's integral to me. And I guess ticking that box of like being the right thing to say, right? Because it's like, who dictates that? Who says that that post is wrong or right? Like we've all got our own opinions. So I always ask myself, is this content in alignment with my brand pillars? So is it in alignment with the things that I want to be known for? Is this content in alignment with my values? Right? And this is really important because everybody's got different values and beliefs, but you need to be clear on what your values are so you can stick to your guns, right? And then the third question is, does this post provide value? So is it actually going to help somebody that reads it? And if I can answer yes to all three of those questions, then I hit post. And that to me is truly, apart from doing some, I guess, like shadow work on yourself as well, which is something that I now coach my clients on to make sure that you are just actually a good human being to begin with, because this is something else as well, which is really interesting. The more people I coach and the more I see people just growing their brands, I want to make sure that my clients in the academy are like absolute like elite human beings, like they're good people doing good things, because there's a lot of power to growing a personal brand. And if you put an asshole in front of a big like and grow their personal brand, like of course they're going to use it for bad reasons, right?
yeah, and I like I resonate with the whole. A lot of the talk I've been doing with different people is this whole not everyone's going to like you, and it's like accepting that. Like I had Imogen on. She gets a lot of hate comments,
Hate for
and
being a
it's just
female
like
coach.
I love her approach. Is just actually take the time to stop, and if you're triggered by what they're saying, why are you triggered, and deal with it yourself because they're they're clearly got stuff going on if you're
Absolutely.
online putting hate on. It's
Oh,
like
that says
that's on you,
everything
and
about them,
yeah, yeah.
100%. And I think you've just got to get to that place where, and it's interesting because over the last 12 months, I've doubled my following on LinkedIn. 2025 was the year I experienced the most hate I've ever experienced in my personal branding journey, which was confronting to begin with. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I've never experienced this to this level before. But what a mentor said to me the other day that really landed is when there is more of a gap between you and the haters, that safer it feels for them to project onto you. And that's why you see like celebrities, for instance, copying so much hate because they're so far removed from that person that there would be no fallback from it. So I just have to accept that the bigger my following gets, as cringe as that sounds, and the more famous I become on LinkedIn and across other platforms, I am separating myself from the haters further and further. Like their ability to get in front of me is going to be like less and less in a way. They're going to feel safer than to project.
So it'll increase.
Yeah,
I never thought of it, but I've heard obviously even the saying that if you've got haters, it's generally because you're doing something great.
I've never received hate from somebody doing better than me.
Yes, very
Never.
true. Yeah, exactly.
Never.
Because they're too busy worried about what they're doing, and that they don't have the time to sit there and put hate on somebody's post. And
This is
I
the funny thing.
I just that's how I look at it. I'm like, how do you even have the time to do this? I'm just busy doing my things. Like they
Yeah,
take the
it truly
time.
is it truly is a reflection of them, and to me like it's just sad more than anything because I think you must be living a really really sad life if you're getting off on doing something like that.
And yeah, take reflection that if you get that, it's just best to see it that way and not stress
Yeah,
about it.
and it's easier said than done, right? Like like I totally appreciate that. It's easy for me to say that, and I obviously went through my own journey last year, and I had a lot of emotions that came up with it. I was like, oh, like this is new. Like I've never experienced this before. But you move through it and you grow thicker skin.
And that was the interesting bit that I talk out with Imogen is she's like, stop and think about why it's triggering you, that particular comment, and do work on why that comment and that hate is triggering. Not necessarily respond to the comment, but why it's triggered what, and
Treated
ask
you.
yourself and why that's come up for you.
Yeah,
Not necessarily take it on board, but there's obviously a reason why it's triggering you and work out
yeah,
that and then move on.
absolutely.
So I've seen you talk about a lot about showing up before you feel ready. Do you think that helped you in your early stages of business?
Absolutely, yeah. It helps me now. It helps me now. I think, I mean, this comes down ultimately to that whole conversation around imposter syndrome, right? And I've got my own maybe polarizing opinion on imposter syndrome. But yeah, you have to if you want to grow, you have to put yourself out there and do things before you feel you're ready for them.
If you wait till you're ready, you'll never be ready.
Yeah, yeah. So I literally tell people that come into my world if they're thinking about joining the academy, they're like, oh, I'll come when I feel ready, and I'm like, well, you're never going to join because you're never going to feel ready. Like it is so rare that I have a client that jumps into the academy and they're like, yeah, let's go. It's like I get them occasionally, but most people are shit scared.
Yeah, because a lot of the people that are so gung ho, they're probably just out just giving it a go anyway.
Yeah,
It's the people that don't feel ready or are struggling with it that seek help as such or will consider help.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, what I find interesting about when I've come across what you do, you don't just give a formula. It appears to me you don't just give them a formula and say do this, this, and this. You actually work on your client's confidence and their visibility blocks because that's what's we've had this discussion. That's what's stopping most people do it. It's their confidence to do it. They've got great ideas, but you have to work it. You can give someone all the tools, but if they're not
Yeah,
confident,
it's what I'll say. It's their confidence and their excuses and their self sabotage, and that's where the shadow work comes into play. Like I coach my clients now every Tuesday. We have a coaching call dedicated purely to that because my strategy works. Like I've repeated it with hundreds of clients. Like I've seen it work, but it doesn't work when the client doesn't do the work. And it's like, well, why aren't they doing the work? And that's where the shadow work comes into it.
yeah. And look, I resonate with that. Like I probably I try to be consistent on LinkedIn, but I was just tired and worn out and exhausted at the end of last year, and I
Yep.
just stopped. I'm just like,
Yep.
and it's obviously I had stuff going on that was what stopped me making it a priority, and then you've got to deal with
And the
that.
question you have to ask yourself is how much of a priority is it for you? People will often come to me and they go, I don't have time to grow a personal brand. I'm like, no, you do have time. It's just not a priority.
Yeah, well, if you think about how much time I probably spend in that time doom scrolling.
That's actually what I say to them. I'm like, oh well, in that case, like, how long are you doing scrolling on across the apps? And then they shut up real fast, and they're like, yeah, okay, I get your point.
Yeah,
It's like
and
we
I
do,
in that case I can be completely honest. I just wasn't in the headspace to actually do it,
yeah,
and I can accept and own that. But I had some time off over Christmas, and I'm back to it.
and you're ready to go.
Yeah, because and sometimes I think even with I'm sure with personal brand you have to allow yourself that time if you're struggling because you're not going to be showing up correctly.
Um, I've got a conflicting opinion around that.
I'm
Yeah,
open to it. Like I said,
yeah, yeah.
could be my excuses, you know.
Yeah, again, it comes down to priorities, right? So for me, growing my personal brand is kind of like going to the gym in the sense that like it is the bare minimum and it is like it's something that I am consistent with, and that consistency can look different for other people. Like maybe your commitment is 3 times a week, maybe it's 7 days a week, like who knows? But the winners are the ones that are showing up when they're not feeling good. And let me tell you, I post pretty like I'm very consistent and have been for 5 years, right? There would have been easily hundreds of times that I've posted where I was not feeling it. I'm not all sunshine and bubbly and rainbows over here. Let me tell you that much. Like I have had my moments, but I still post. And sometimes I post sharing that I'm having one of those moments, you know?
Yeah, I think if you want to grow a proper personal brand, you have to be vulnerable at some point, and if you're having a bad time, just let it
Yeah,
go.
and also it comes down to a little bit of planning as well too, like just trying to, have a bit of content ready to go as well. So on the day that, you're getting absolutely slammed or you're not feeling well, whatever it is, you've got something there that you can still put up.
Yeah, and I think obviously they're scheduling. You know, Evan came to me the
Yeah,
other day, and he's like, "Oh, I've scheduled for the next week." So like, it's really, I think a lot of the time, once you're in the swing of things, it can be just half an hour a week that you can get it out and schedule it if when
yeah,
it comes to
definitely.
posting. Um, so, in your opinion, does confidence come first, or does it build once we start showing up?
Oh no, it builds once you put in the reps. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
So just, I guess it's I often talk. I work with a coach myself called Danny V, and we talk about discipline over motivation too. Like you have to have the discipline to do it. So if you have the discipline
absolutely.
to show up, then the confidence will just build.
Oh, and it's interesting because this is probably the best I've felt in my life. It's like
Oh,
I feel
that's
so,
good. I love that for you.
yeah, like I feel so good. I feel hot. Like I feel amazing. And it's got nothing to do with how I look. It's because I'm keeping my word.
Yeah, you're,
And there is no greater feeling. There is no greater feeling
you're
than
being
that.
true to yourself, and you're having self-respect for yourself of what you
Yeah,
want and what you
exactly.
achieve.
Like I'm looking after my health, like I'm doing big things in the business, like I'm consistent. I had a call with my health coach the other day and I said to him, I said, "Oh, am I one of your needy clients?" And he laughed. He said, "No, you're a breeze." He's like, "You do the work." He's like, "I tell you what I need you to do, and you go away and you do it." Like, and that's just the sort of person I am. I'm like, you give me something to do, and I'm like, I'll follow through.
Yeah, so and that's why you're just feeling great because you're being true and you're having self-respect for
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely.
I love that. So you've obviously built a powerful community on LinkedIn. What has changed in how you use the platform now to how you used it at the start?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I started on there 5.5 years ago, so a lot. I would say because I was so young as well. Like I was 21 when I started. I just turned 27, so I would say that I've got so much more business knowledge now, and I've invested over $200,000 into like professional development, learning a range of skills. So I would say I'm just smarter with the platform. And so what I mean by that is 5 years ago, it was me posting photos. I had a whole series on it of me like holding a board around like this saying to do with culture, and that used to go viral and whatnot, which was cool, but it it didn't translate to huge revenue. Whereas now I know how to be smarter with my content to generate the right inbound leads, and I also know how to communicate better in like when I'm even messaging people as well. Yeah, so I would just say I'm a whole lot smarter than what I was.
But you've spent the time to learn.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
Like
it
I
comes with
obviously
time.
it comes with times, it comes with lessons and sometimes hard lessons. But also too, like taking risks to invest in mentors and work really, really hard to learn those skill sets and then integrate them into your business.
Mm. And obviously you have spent the time learning that, so if someone works with you now, they don't have to spend the time learning that.
Oh, it's funny you say this because I was only thinking the other day, I was like, if I was starting from zero and I had the knowledge I had now, I truly believe I'd be able to make the same revenue I have in the last 2.5 years in 6 to 12 months. I just, yeah, I wish I had this knowledge back then, but that's life, right? Like, we got to go through a journey and
But then I would
figure out the.
say potentially LinkedIn as a platform has also developed over the last. It probably wasn't the same platform when you started.
No, it's definitely like it was a lot easier to go viral on LinkedIn years ago. And they've really cracked down on that, particularly the last 12 months. So it's not as easy to go viral on there. Um, so there's certainly been a lot of changes in terms of like the algorithm and the reach, but it's, in my biased opinion, still the best platform out of them all to hang out on.
Do you think it's still one of the most underrated platforms for small business owners or creatives to use?
If they're in the service based industry, yes. Like product based, like if you've got an e-commerce business, the only value the real value I would see is more for talent attraction. So if you're wanting to hire like A players, like I still think it's important for those guys to be growing their brand on LinkedIn. But if you're a service based business, and particularly a professional service based business like mortgage broker, accountant, financial planner, all those, absolutely the most untapped platform. There's over 1 billion people on there and less than 1% post. It is, if you have a clear strategy and you're consistent, like there's so much opportunity to win.
So if you say only less than 1% post, do a lot of the other billion get on and stalk?
Absolutely, I would
Meaning,
say
like,
good.
is it they sign up and they're not regularly on there, or they just generally they'll stalk people's content?
They're signing up and they're hanging out on the platform, so they're stalking profiles, they're on the feed, they're having a doom scroll,
Mm.
but they're not posting content.
So if you're posting content, it's
Yeah,
easy to,
you're posting to a huge audience of people that are just lurking and lurking.
yeah. Whereas the other social platforms, there's a lot more users, but a lot more people posting and creating
Posting,
content.
yeah, correct.
What would you say to someone starting on LinkedIn with no audience? Like
With no audience.
what's the main bit of advice you would give someone?
Uh, Obviously, just get clear on your why and your direction. There's no point going hard growing a personal brand if you don't know where you're going. And I'm also a big believer in aligning your personal brand with your life goals as well too. So if you want to, scale and launch a business to have more time back with your kids, it's like your brand should reflect that. It's like that should be where you're steering your brand towards. What I would say from a strategy, uh, like an actual actionable thing you need to do is if you're starting from zero, ideally you want to optimize your profile and then get to your first 500 connections as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, people do judge you based off numbers and number of followers. And what I find is to build that trust before you start posting content and to build a community, I'd aim to get to your first 500, then start posting content because now you got an audience of people there.
Yeah, and I guess you've got to have a good profile, a maximized profile for people to accept you as a connection.
Absolutely. That's why the profile optimization has to happen first. Because if you're looking a bit shady, your acceptance rate is gonna
If
be
you got no
incredibly low.
photos, you'd be like, you're
Yeah.
like, who are these people?
You just wouldn't accept. Like if I had somebody with 3 connections and no profile photo, there's no way I'm accepting that.
Yeah. So um, I think you've probably answered this a little, but I feel with the online space, it's easy to appear like you're authentic, but it's harder to actually be authentic.
Embody it.
So
Yeah.
I think um, to be successful, you actually have to be authentic rather than appear authentic. Um, how do you help your clients with that? And I think obviously you talk about your shadow work with that they do. That's part of how you would help them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is definitely one part because what I find as well is, and don't get me wrong, you don't your personal brand is a persona, right? And ideally, we want it to be very closely aligned with you as a person, but you don't have to share everything about yourself as well. Like, you could have elements to your personality where you're like, I want to keep that for my wife or my friends or whoever, you know what I mean? So it's about picking out the parts of you that you feel like your ideal client will resonate with as well. And I can safely say over the years of coaching, my clients have been the most down to earth human beings, like just absolute guns. Because that's me. Like I'm such a down to earth person, so I just
Yeah,
attract those sorts
attracting
of
that
people.
energy.
Yeah, yeah. So what I guess what I would say is, was your question more so around how to feel more confident showing up as yourself just in real life? Was that the
Yeah, I think to really feel confident to show up in a personal brand, you've got to do some work to actually be authentic,
first?
not just
Yeah,
appear authentic. Because we come across a lot of people who try to appear authentic, and I only speak from this because I've done a lot of work myself. Is to actually understand who you are, and I would say that's probably what you do with your clients is actually, and that's what I think the important message to get across. Would you say? Is that do the work so you actually are authentic, so and that'll help your personal brand perform more.
I think it's also becoming a person that you're proud of more than anything. And that's why I honestly have found it so easy to grow my brand in a way because I'm really proud of the person that I've become. But part of that journey was 3 years ago, acknowledging the fact that I was not proud of the person I was. And, I've gone through crazy, crazy, like, traumas and tragedies over the years, and people often reflect to me on how brave I am. But the bravest thing I ever did was admitting that I was playing out some really shitty behaviors and patterns, and I wasn't proud of the person I was. Like, that's a very confronting and uncomfortable conversation to have with yourself.
So yeah, and so that probably means, to me, it means if you do work on being proud of who you are. So if you really want
Yeah,
to feel confident showing up line, you need to be proud of who you are, and then that just naturally comes into the confidence
comes
because
out.
you want to you think I'm an awesome person, I'm proud of who I am, so why wouldn't I
Yep,
show that to the world?
absolutely. And I'm proud of the way that I am able to bring value to others as well. It's all connected. So as much as I am, a big believer of, obviously self-love, if you're not feeling confident, if you're listening to this and you're not feeling confident in your day-to-day life, there could be a very good reason for that. And I'm not here to sugarcoat and say like we should all feel amazing and feel amazing all the time. Like that's just the biggest load of BS. But what I would encourage you to do is ruthlessly like reflect and go, well, if I'm not feeling confident, why aren't I? Maybe it's because you haven't been to gym in 12 months and you've stacked 10 kilos on. You know what I mean? Like, of course you're not going to feel confident.
And what can you do? What little things can you do so you actually feel confident and are proud of who you are?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So obviously, would you say you can tell certainly when you're online when someone is faking it, and do you think their audience can tell that?
I mean, you can certainly tell when you see AI garbage, that's for sure. not hard to pick out the robots in that. Um, in a way, weird way, I don't pay too much attention if I'm honest. I stay in my own lane. I stay in my own lane. Like I see people show up. Um, I know a lot of people. Like I know a lot of people. So I hear things from the grapevine that certainly don't match the image that they're putting out online. And I don't necessarily judge it, but I observe it. And it's like, oh, that's interesting, like that they are putting this image out, but I actually know what's happening behind the scenes. But again, and this is part of the shadow work, is if you happen to notice, for instance, somebody's putting something out and you're thinking, that person's a liar, and you feel really triggered by it, you need to acknowledge the part of yourself that is a liar. Because if you feel so emotional about it, it's because you're holding shame around being a liar and there's something there to look at. So I feel relatively neutral like when I see people's content. But that's just, years in the game and seeing a lot of content.
And I guess if you spend too much time taking notice of what other people are doing, you run the
Yeah,
risk of ending up sort of replicating in that in a way. So if you just focus on
yeah,
who you are, what you think your audience or your ideal audience needs to see, that's all you need to do instead of focusing on other people's content.
absolutely. And that's what I mean by like I stay in my lane. And even before I was just thinking about, oh, like who are the competitors in my space? And I know a few people that do LinkedIn. They don't even do what I do. Like it's something so different. But I don't know any other like LinkedIn personal branding coaches who do the work that I do. And I've honestly got no real intention to go out and go find them. You know what I mean? Like I'm just so focused in my space and providing a great service to my clients, and obviously always educating and learning. But there's enough for everyone.
Yeah, and instead of focusing on your competitors, just focus on the sort of clients you want to work with and how you can attract them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I talk about this even in our space. We do a lot of business networking, and um, it can be overwhelming to do. And it's the same with like going online and trying. I guess LinkedIn is like networking online, right?
No, it
So
is. Yeah,
it's online, but we do a lot of in-person networking. And I think what stops people doing it is they get overwhelmed walking into this room and they're like, oh, I've got to go talk to everyone. I've got to make connections with everyone. I approach it completely different. I go in the room and I walk in that my energy is going to match the person,
yeah. You'll
the
attract the
people in
right
the room
people.
that are for me and match my energy. And that's what it's going to attract. And if I meet one person in that room and we attract and match,
Hit it
it's been a
off.
success, right? Because
Yeah,
if everyone else in that room isn't right for me, why am I forcing it?
exactly. And it's so funny you bring this conversation up because I rarely do in person networking anymore. But I happened to be at an event this morning, and I haven't been to this one in years. And the number of people that came up to me and they're like, I've been following you on LinkedIn. And I've got no idea who these people are, right? And that's the power of a personal brand is because you're right. When you go to networking events, it's impossible to meet everybody and have a connection. But the cool thing is there was probably 40 people at this event that I didn't know, but I would dare say 30 to 35 of them knew who I was. And like that's the power of being able to walk into a room and not have the ability to connect with other people, but know my personal brand online is backing me up.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. It's like you're just putting it out there, and it shows how powerful your brand has become that you can go
Yeah.
to an event like that.
And have people so effortlessly I want to say effortlessly like come up and connect. Like I had one guy came up and he's like, I love your stuff and I've made a commitment this year to grow my personal brand. And I've had people come over and give me a big hug and I'm like, I got no idea who this person is, but like they bring it in.
But it shows how great your content is that they feel like they know you.
Yeah, they feel comfortable and
Yeah,
safe
and that
enough.
and they feel like like they feel like they're connected to you, and that shows what you're doing is so powerful that you're like, because you wouldn't necessarily do that to someone that you
You
think
would
is
have
a
done that to
complete
somebody.
monster. You're not going to run up and want to get, like, I know some people probably do, but most people
Yeah.
they don't, because they don't feel like they've actually really connected with them one on one. But if
one on one,
yeah,
yeah,
but if they're feeling they and they're going up to you and they're because they feel like they know you because you're so good with your content and it's so personalized that they know who you are, and that's the power in your brand.
exactly.
So I guess I my next question is because I know you've got a lot going on this year. What is next for Benone Academy?
What's coming
Yeah, what's
next
coming
for it?
next? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, really excited for this year. I have officially launched my first in person event. So, that's happening on March the 12th and
I'm
13th.
so
I'm hosting it
excited.
at,
I'm so excited for
oh,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm so excited. I'm hosting it at the Mondrian, which is like one of the most stunning venues on the Gold Coast.
Either I
We've
or
got
Evan
two,
will be coming. We just
I
haven't
was going to
yet.
say, I was like, I hope
I
you guys are
don't think I
coming.
don't think we can both get there, but one of us will
One
be
of you.
down there.
No, amazing. No, no, I'd love to have you guys there. But no, it's going to be super special. So the game plan really with the academy is to run this event twice a year. So everybody, we're bringing the gang together. We're bringing the community together. Obviously, I'm running training, and I've got Ryan, who's Australia's number one sales coach, coming along as well. So it's going to be a phenomenal event. And for me, really, the academy is it's all about scaling and just bringing more people into the program. I spent the last 3 months of last year and even January setting up a lot of processes and systems and things to allow me to scale. And yeah, everything's coming to fruition, and we're getting ready to really ramp things up and help even more people with their branding.
And that I love that you had even with the academy have gone for and you saw, especially like you said, there's not a lot of people in your space, certainly in Australia. Rather than just doing the one-on-one or posting, like to do it in an academy, you have that greater reach, and that's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess from like a personal note in terms of like the business over the last couple of years, I've done a lot of private one-to-one coaching, which has been phenomenal and I absolutely loved it, but it's not scalable. And I often was finding too that I was repeating the same thing. Like I'd get on a 1 p.m. call with a client and then get on a 2 p.m. call with a client. And I was saying the exact same thing in the previous call. So, and the guys just love the group coaching, and there's obviously a lot of training and resources and things in there as well. But and we've got such a range. I mean, I've got people in 40 different industries and anywhere from corporates trying to escape their 9 to 5 right through to founders of 7 8 figure companies. So yeah, it's so cool to have that diversity.
I think though also when you do it as a group, because I'm involved in like a different mastermind, you
Yeah,
your
you
coaching
learn
can be
so
so
much from other
amazing,
people.
right?
Yeah,
Having that group, you can feed off each other's ideas as well and help each other rather than just that one-on-one. Like when you build a good community, you can actually help each other as well, like the people within the group, and they bring such a different array of ideas.
oh, 100%. And they learn so much. And even with like the shadow work call, for instance, we had one last week and everybody was like, wow, like I'm learning so much from like hearing all you guys sharing things. And yeah, there's so many lessons. And again, like I was just repeating myself in the private calls. I was like, guys, let's just bring it all in as a group and build a really awesome community.
And
And yeah,
do you
that's what we've
find
done.
being in a group that helps your new customers with the confidence aspect if they see other people
Absolutely.
doing it and having success and saying I struggled at the start, it actually helps naturally build that confidence in new people?
100%. It was funny. I had my team interviewed a bunch of my clients end of last year for a project that we're about to launch next week. So when we interviewed all the clients, it was interesting. Like we got the most beautiful feedback, and the most consistent feedback we got was Kateesha is really brutal and really honest, but she has so much love for us, and we can just feel it. But that can at times come with uncomfortable conversations. But another piece was, they were talking about how much they appreciated the fact that I believed in them before they believed in themselves. And so we do have this concept now of like borrowing bravery from each other, because there's days where you're not feeling confident, you're not feeling amazing. And like I have those days as well where, I'm not feeling on top of the world all the time. But on those days, I think there's so much power in we call it borrowing bravery from other people when you're not feeling so great.
But I think those comments that they've made about you reflect what a great coach you are. And look, I've not been coached from you, but from my experience, and I had this discussion. I work with a performance coach, and I work with my writing coach. And like
Yeah,
the
amazing.
common aspects is that some people go into these learning situations, they want to just be told they're doing great. But a good coach isn't going to sit there and tell you that
They know that.
you're doing a great job. Because I have this with my writing coach, and I'm like, no, you tell me what I'm doing wrong, because that's the type of person I naturally am. I'm like, I want to know like, you've got to be positive when they do things well, obviously. You want
Of
to
course,
be
and
honest with me.
it's being honest and not being a jerk as well, right? Like it's about delivering it in the right way. But as a coach, like that is an uncomfortable conversation for me to have. Like I can't sit here and say like I feel really good and neutral about reflecting something really uncomfortable to a client. Like I feel icky, but this is probably where my bravery comes in, right? Where it's like, oh, like I need to be the bad guy. I need to be the person who actually calls them forward and say, hey, like that's actually not simply good
Yeah.
enough.
And to succeed, you need that in a coach, I think.
You do, you do.
So, what do you want your brand to stand for long term, both professionally and in the future?
I think the biggest I think the biggest thing for me is I want to inspire people to do brave things and leverage their brand to do that.
That's great. So, I've got some quick fire questions for you that you're just quickly give me an answer to.
Love
Word
it.
that defines your brand.
Bravery.
I love that.
And sass, maybe.
A non-negotiable in your personal content.
In my personal content, honesty.
Who is a woman that inspires you to show up boldly?
Ooh, one of my mentors, Felicity Morgan.
Your go-to reset button after a big visibility push.
That's a really good question. I would say like regulating either through like exercise or even having a sauna or yeah some sort of like form of self-care.
Yeah, self-care. So, and it depends on. I think I think that's a good lesson to say self-care, because it depends on the person
Yeah,
what it is, right?
yeah,
You've just got to
exactly.
find the right self-care for you.
Yes.
So, Kateesha, thank you so much for sharing your story today. Your honesty and your insights. I love the honesty. Uh,
No, I appreciate
and
it.
what I love most about your work is that it's not about just about helping people look good. It's about helping them feel good in their brand and their voice. And I think that's just beautiful. Um, and I think you reminded that personal branding is not just marketing. It's about meaning,
It's an
and a
impact.
real connection always starts when we show up as ourselves. And I'm always about
Absolutely.
that connection. So, for anyone listening, I highly recommend connecting with Kateesha, obviously on LinkedIn, but she's active on Instagram now too. And
I have.
checking out Benone Academy. We'll put the links in the show notes. So,
Beautiful.
thank you very much. And until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and keep making your mark on the world one connection at a time. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.